Hello, friends. Welcome, Salem Mason Happy Home. I'm happy to be here with you today on this brisk Monday morning here in the great state of Minnesota. And footnote before I get to my topic, I've noticed that I'm not the only one online, pundits, journalists, whatever, that always begin stating where we are in Minnesota with the words, the great state of Minnesota. Now, I think this is important because I want people to know, especially those that don't live in Minnesota, that those of us that are born and raised native Minnesotans, even though our government, our attorney general, our governor, and God knows who else, has betrayed the trust, the safety, and the very lives of Minnesotans everywhere, we still cling to the hope that our state is every bit as great as it was when we grew up here and how we hope it will be for our future. So when I say the great state of Minnesota, I mean it with all my heart and soul. It's not facetious. It's not sarcastic. It's actually genuinely how I feel. And I feel like I'm watching a beloved relative die of stage 4 cancer, and there's nothing I can do about it. So nonetheless, I hope that someone somewhere, some agency somewhere, will get to the bottom of this horror that's going on here in Minnesota and put an end to it. A topic that I want to talk to you about today was this alleged war on drugs. In 1971, our then President Richard Milhous Nixon officially declared a war on drugs. In 1972, he appointed a guy named Jerome Jaffe, Dr. Jerome Jaffe, to be the very first ever United States drug czar. And ever since then, drugs have been thriving. Legal, illegal, doesn't matter if it's at a pharmacy or it's in a back alley. The drug industry has thrived to become the main economic backbone of many, many, many nations. Venezuela and Mexico, to name two. And through the years, presidents and their administrations have always, told the American people, yeah, we're tackling the war on drugs. We're doing good. We're doing this. And then they show tables full of drugs and machine guns that ATF and ICE and the, drug DEA people and stuff have caught off of some street thug. But it's not enough. It's never been enough. And it's been more of a white lie that our government has been telling the American people. Like when you tell your kid that Santa's real. Of course he is. The Easter Bunny, it's a little sketchy. I don't know. Where's he getting those eggs? But nonetheless, I believe that it's more of a white lie that they're telling us and that they're just saying it just so people will back off and not question what they're doing. Now, Obama dealt blows to the drug trafficking from South America with massive drone strikes, hundreds and hundreds of drone strikes. And I don't think we even have a count of how many people he killed in those drone strikes on drug boats. But he did. And nobody's talking about that. But because the Trump administration is touting themselves as the most transparent administration ever to exist, everything that they do, good, bad, or otherwise, is brought forth to the American people. It's pretty ballsy, and I like it. And the politicians and the pundits and the woke individuals who are carrying on, screaming and hollering about how they're killing off innocent fishermen, no, they're not. Keep in mind that, like Mark Kelly, who is that traitor from the Navy Spamberger, that's governor of some state, unfortunate state that has to put up with her now, who cheated on her exams and helped somebody cheat on their exam. She should have been in jail. She shouldn't be governor. These people, it doesn't matter if they're in the military or not. It doesn't matter if you've ever served in any branch of the military. That doesn't mean that you are automatically all-knowing or have all the intelligence or all the answers or all the security clearance to actually know what the fuck is going on in the Pentagon, especially when it comes to these drug boat attacks. Only a select few people have security clearance enough to be inside the intelligence process that goes into determining if that's a drug boat full of drug dealers. So they're going to tell you all kinds of lies. There's senators out there, oh, he's killing innocent fishermen. No, he's not. How do you know? Have you identified the bodies? Do you have security clearance to have seen everything from start to finish? Do you know the names of those individuals? Do you know their history and their background? Do you know what they were doing on a boat full of cocaine if they're just fishermen? Now, I get it. I get it. We found out through horrors in Vietnam, as far back as Vietnam, that the enemy will use innocent people, women, children, the elderly, simple fishermen. They will threaten them with lives and their family and take them hostage and do horrible things if they don't comply with the drug dealers. We know that. That happens. But in this case, the Venezuelan drug lords are not going to trust a boat full of fentanyl, cocaine, meth, whatever the frig they got in there, to a fisherman who might blow it because he's scared to death. And every time one of these stupid senators screams and hollers and sits down with Pete Hegseth, and they get to see the videos and everything and the intel because they're transparent, all of a sudden they're not yelling and hollering much anymore, are they? Maybe they learned something in that little meeting with Pete Hegseth. Maybe he schooled them on what's going on and reminded them that their precious princeling Obama did the same exact thing, and nobody batted an eye about that. The sad truth is that street gangs, drug lords, and in the nations where their primary economy is illegal drugs, deadly drugs, it goes all the way up into their governments, their presidents, their imperial wizards, their supreme leaders. It goes all the way up there. And the mob has political ties. We know that. These street gangs, why are these street gangs still out there and thriving when we've been having a war on street gangs and drugs for so many decades? Because they are beneficial to the economy to some extent, which is pathetic and despicable, but unfortunately a truth of how our democracy works. Well, we are a republic, practices democracy. The point is that maybe Hegseth's methods may be a little harsh for some people, and I might be, diminishing the lives of drug dealers. But if you are so uneducated, so untrained, that all you can do is sell deadly drugs and kill people, you have to be one of the dumbest humans on earth, for one thing, because you're selling something that's going to kill off your customer base. And the less drug addicts to sell to, the less drugs you can sell. Duh. Drugs have become so ingrained in our legal system, our financial systems, that stopping it is going to dismantle so much of our lawful structure, unfortunately. And I think that Trump's methods, they're the same as Obama's. You know, it's just like the kids in the cages. Those were Obama's cages. He built and ordered those cages in 2014. He loosed 80,000 unaccompanied children into the interior of the U.S. Nobody's talking about that. Yeah. But Trump uses the cages that are there, and now he's a fucking Nazi. Are you kidding me, you stupid people? You're just so stupid. But there is another aspect to the war on drugs that has been completely ignored, and that is the perpetual revolving door that is making the American medical industry and pharmaceutical industry obscenely wealthy. Like they could wipe their ass with $100 bills and it wouldn't put a dent in their wallet. Because drug addicts need treatment. Treatment centers need money. Homeless shelters, got to build them. Someone's getting money to build them. Someone's getting money to operate them. Then there's the artificial synthetic drugs that drug addicts are being given in place of the real thing, such as methadone, antabuse, etc. Big Pharma's making those and making gazillions off of them. So it is a benefit to the medical industry and Big Pharma to keep drug addicts flowing. You know, the hardest part about it is that many of these people that have been drug addicts most of their lives, they are permanently brain damaged. So they are literally deemed in courts of law to be medically incompetent indefinitely. But what do? We loose them back onto the streets, trusting that they're going to take care of their schizophrenia, their bipolar depression, and all their other things that they're going to do. And that everything's going to be hunky-dory. And of course it's not. And that's why they don't care. There is no compassion. There is no common sense. There is no safety. Putting a brain-damaged chronic drug addict back out onto the streets is the same thing as taking your 2-year-old and dropping them off on the corner of something and something in New York City and having them fend for themselves. That's exactly what it is. You're going to get them killed. You're going to get innocent people killed. So the victims here are not the assholes in the drug boats. And quite frankly, you have to be pretty damn stupid to keep getting in those boats, if you know what I mean. But unlike Obama, Trump and Hegseth are at least telling you, hey, we're doing this. So it's ugly business. You don't like it, but we have the lawful right to, and we are doing it because we're keeping our promises to the American people. So is my heart breaking for those drug dealers on the boats? No. How dare you come to our shores and bring that crap? How dare you kill our people? But who are the Democrats supporting? The drug dealers in the boats. They're defending them. Just like they defend abortion. They want to thin the herd. They want a very tiny population because it's easier to control and it's easier to mandate and it's easier to have state-run grocery stores and state-run everything else if you have less people to manage. So it's to their benefit. And they got to keep people addicted because they all have stock in Big Pharma. And Big Pharma is going to make them rich. So that when they're caught, They have helicopters and jets and underground homes and shit where they can go to hide from the pitchforks that are coming for their asses. It's all tied together. At least Trump is being transparent about what he's doing, whether you like it or not. But I bet every one of you that is appalled and, that he's killing these poor, helpless drug dealers on $1 million boats, I bet none of you knew that Obama was doing it, and you didn't know about it because they kept secrets. Trump doesn't keep secrets. Oh, and speaking of secrets, everybody's screaming and hollering that he's a Nazi, but all of these Jewish attacks that have happened in the last 8 days, the Brown University, there were Jewish students that were gunned down. Everybody in Australia, there were Jews at a celebration. There's like 15 dead now. And of course, now Rob Reiner was stabbed to death in his home. He was Jewish. So was it his drug-addled son? If it was, guess who we can blame? The war on drugs. We can blame the drugs that got into this country that made him a drug addict. And they came in way before Trump did. Or it was a crime, a human rights crime. Trump is vowing retaliation. And he's vowing to put the thumb screws to Australia for allowing this shit to happen. This man and his son who committed that horrific crime on the beach, Bondi Beach, they were known to Australian authorities. Known, repeat offenders, and they had guns. But they have stricter gun laws than we do. I got to tell you, I feel like we're living in a snow globe that belongs to a spoiled brat who gets up every morning at 5 a.m. and shakes the fuck out of that thing. And we're just swirling around in the little snowflakes. So I'm sure that Richard Nixon had good intentions in the beginning. He had his reasons. But if the war on drugs had been successful, we're talking 50 frickin' years, 72, 82, 92, 2002, 2001, 22. We're talking like 60 years, almost 60 years that we've had a quote unquote war on drugs. And where's it gotten us? More drug addicts. Drug addiction forces people into homeless situations, forces people into committing crimes. And it's going to get worse because there's less drugs to go around now. So what drugs are here and being manufactured in the U.S., they're going to charge them even more because demand. And people are going to become crazier and crazier, and they're going to do more things for that money. So we're going to all have to have our heads on a swivel right now. But as far as a war on drugs, the irony is Trump is doing exactly what Obama did. He's taking up the helm from where Obama left off. Nobody's talking about that. They're just bitching and moaning about him killing people. Because Trump could come up with the cure for cancer tomorrow, and people would still call him a Nazi. And say that you can't cure cancer because what are all those poor doctors going to do if they're not getting their 6 figures every year for doing nothing? So chew on that for a while. Enjoy your Monday. We're a week away from Christmas. And until next time, do good and be good.